Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. Technical difficulties advanced. This show airs every single weekend, every Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, unless specified otherwise, over on Twitter at the Eljay Johnsen, where you can find updates and guest announcements every single Tuesday. And if you have any questions of the week, make sure you head on over to my email, eljayjohnson@gmail.com, where you can ask questions and I can keep them in a nice, neat, orderly fashion. Whew. If I sound a little winded, is for two reasons. One, because that takes a lot of energy to do very quickly and very succinctly. And two, because, like I said, this is actually the Eljay Johnsen Show. Technical difficulties advanced or evolved or what have you. Been running into a few, which are actually the reason as to why this was a little bit delayed. But we're here, we're ready to rock and roll. So, I'm excited for my next guest. He's a friend of mine who I got the wonderful opportunity to hang out with over in December in another state. He knows music like the back of his hand, which you used to play music. Okay, all right, fair enough, fine. It is Nathan Bliss. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm a little, a little exasperated, not gonna lie.
No worries.
Yeah, I figured out it's like I go to start the stream and it's like we're not gonna start your stream. What? Why not? We're just not gonna do it. And then all of a sudden it looks like the internet's out. And I'm going, what the heck is going on? Come to find out, the Ethernet cable, because I don't do Wi-Fi unless I need to like update a phone or something. The Ethernet
Yeah.
cable is busted, and thankfully I had
Oh,
another one hooked up or nearby that was long enough, and so I just swapped them out and wear golden as my mask. So, but yeah, so how have you been today?
been all right. It's been an interesting time since December, but yeah, it's been going pretty good lately.
Yeah, no, we haven't actually gotten a chance to sit down and chat since. It's been it's been so long that I have a picture of the four of us, the four amigos, and you're the last one I needed. I've had the other two on the show, and now I have everyone.
Yeah. You've had the Unholy Trilogy.
I saw you. I saw you mention that to Meerkat on Twitter. That was great. But yeah, so I'll go ahead and let you take the floor. Feel free to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into Lego and into the community, and so on and so forth.
All right. So I'm Nathan. On Bees of Power, you may know me as Jonathan Crane, although I don't really use the site anymore due to a few problems. On the TTV message boards as Bionic Deadpool. Pretty much everywhere else as Avenging Odin. Let's see. I got into Bionicle when I was about 3.5, maybe 4. An old family friend was actually a huge Lego fan and collected a bunch of stuff. It gave me a Tahu Nuva and a Galak, and ever since then, I've just been a huge fan. I've been able to collect a few really interesting things. Back in 2009, I actually got to meet with Greg Farshti and actually won a contest and got one of the very first copies of the Matanui's Guide to Bara Magna. I have a signed copy of Trial by Fire, and I have a bunch of Free the Band patches. Uh, so, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
All right, fantastic. Now, just to clarify, I'm still good on the free the band patches. I
All
think
right.
I don't know if you got them the same way I did, but the way I got a few of them, and for anyone wondering, free the band, gosh dang, it's the thank you, free the band patch. It's so there's a band called the All American Rejects, and they did a promotion for Lego Bionicle back in 2006, and there was this patch that had one of the masks, and it had free the band because it was part of the whole promotion. Um, so they would give these patches out every so often for a variety of different things. The way I got them was I entered a Bionicle speed building contest at a Lego store when I lived in California. I did not win. but I got a complimentary patch. How'd you get yours, Nathan?
Someone on Bricklink had 50 of them for sale, so I bought half a star.
How did they just have 50? They just have 50 of
I
them
have no
lying
idea, but they
around.
were selling them for like, I think like 75 cents each. It's like, hey,
Dang. I might honestly have to go and get the other 25 so I can give those away at Brick Fair. That's amazing.
so
All
yeah,
right. So your first Bionicle set was Tahu Nuva and Galak, yeah?
yeah.
Okay, so you got into Bionicle, what, around 2003-ish?
Yeah, around I mean I got them for my birthday in 2002, I believe. I still have the picture lying around somewhere. I'll send it to you over the weekend if I can, but yeah.
Okay.
Um
All right, so you possibly predate me. I'm not sure, depending on how late in the year your birthday is. You potentially predate me very slightly as far as getting into the theme.
yeah,
Now,
let's see.
hmm.
When's your birthday?
Oh no. I mean like I got into Bionicle late 2002, early '03, but I don't know exactly when.
All right.
Yeah. So now, uh, obviously, enough. You're a fan of Bionicle. I know this, of course. Did you ever get into any other system themes, perhaps?
Yeah, I've been really into Lego Star Wars all my life. I've been a Star Wars fan really as long as I can remember. According to my parents, I would not shut up about Star Wars as a kid. The first words were Star Wars, apparently, to my dad.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, I'm that level of nerd, but yeah, so yeah, I've been trying to collect like Star Wars sets here and there. Recently, I've also gotten really into like Technic, architecture, the creator cards also have
Hmm.
been pretty interesting to get into. I just got the James Bond Aston Martin a few months ago,
Oh.
and the new Mustang GT about maybe I think a week ago or so.
Oh, did you get it with the keychain and all the
Yeah,
promotion? Oh, nice. That's awesome.
yeah,
Okay. Have you built those? How are they?
yeah. The Aston Martin is really cool because like it also has like the ejector seat and everything that comes in like all the movies and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I got it with the promotional license to build. Um,
That's
that was
amazing.
actually kind of the main seller for me.
Hmm.
But yeah, the Mustang, it's kind of cool. It comes with a bunch of like different customizable bits that you can add to give it kind of like your own
Flair.
like preferred year or flare.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw that had that kind of customization. Like you had the engine block, and you could like raise the suspension, and you can do a whole bunch of things with it.
Yeah, it also comes with I think like five different license plates, depending on like what area you're in. You can change it to like where you are, whether it's the U.S., Canada, Europe, Australia, that
Oh,
kind of
that's
thing.
cool.
So yeah,
That's really neat. Does it have an Idaho license plate?
no, I think it's just California and Michigan for the two U.S. ones,
Oh,
but
okay, 0 out of 10 then.
yeah,
Got it. Excellent.
yeah,
Good to know. Good to know. I'll pass then. Now on the subject of Star Wars, since you mentioned it, I have to ask. I'm obligated to ask. What did you think of The Last Jedi, and why do you hate it?
I didn't I didn't immediately go to Twitter to just rant about how much I hated it. I didn't think it was incredibly bad, but yes, from like fan standpoint, didn't really enjoy it. As kind of like a music or like a movie fan, wasn't a huge fan of it from that standpoint. I think that they focused way too much on just kind of the same two scenes and just dragged them out throughout the entire movie. I did not think Rose was that bad of a character. Um, yeah, I think that there were a few stupid lines, but that's just Star Wars. Yeah,
Hmm.
honestly, it's not my least favorite out of the whole thing,
Hmm.
But yeah,
What is your least favorite?
probably the holiday special or Ewok Adventures.
Okay, all
But
right. Now of the watchable movies, which is your least favorite?
okay, probably Phantom Menace.
That's reasonable. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Phantom Menace gave us the Duel of the Fates scene, but I will
And
give Last Jedi credit. That one hyperdrive scene is
pretty
it's pretty
cool.
good.
Yeah, yeah, it looks very nice.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I remember. So I had not watched the holiday special. I don't technically think I have still. Um, so
Yeah, you
back
kind of just zoned out through that one.
I was doing some stuff. So back in December, Nathan and I went to a friend's house. We had a little bit of a get together. You can see the picture on screen now, with Andre Hurley and Meerkat, who I've had on the show before. Andre Hurley was it was his house, and he's the owner of the Platinum Avoki. He has an extensive Bionicle collection, and so we convened at his place to do a lot of set building. And as I was building some things, in the background, they had the Star Wars Holiday Special playing. And I didn't pay attention to it and actively watch it. But as it was playing and I was listening to it and seeing a couple of the things, like that short animated bit and then a bit with the Ewoks, I just couldn't help but think, gosh, this is one of the worst things ever. It's so low quality. It's just awful, legitimately terrible. So, it's given me good reason not to watch it.
Yeah. With a Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventures. Sorry. To anyone who hasn't seen those, for okay, for starts, don't. But
Yeah, just you could just
yeah.
skip.
If you've seen movies like The Never-Ending Story or Dark Crystal, just that like really out there fantasy side of the '80s, it's literally just that. In fact, to my knowledge, Caravan of Courage wasn't even originally created to be a Star Wars movie. It was just slapped with a couple Ewoks last minute to try to get back money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it does not feel like a Star Wars movie. It genuinely like looks and feels
Something
like
else entirely.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's not good.
yeah, and the holiday special also, if you haven't seen it, don't worry about it. It's not good.
No, it's really not. It is
Yeah.
personally, in my opinion, it's not worth anyone's time unless you really find it funny and get a kick out of it, or have like a tradition. So,
Yeah, like the worst part about it is that it's boring. Literally nothing happens in the movie.
mm-hmm.
It's just a bunch of scenes just sewn together last minute. There is an interesting animated bit, which is the only redeeming quality of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it's Boba
but
Fett's technically his first appearance as a concept,
correct.
which is fascinating. But
Yeah, if you want to see him ride into battle on a giant brachiosaurus or whatever it is,
yeah, it's
yeah,
weird. It's real. It's weird.
yeah, it's very 70s, but
Oh yeah,
yeah,
but yeah. Uh, so okay, here we go. Had to recenter. Never mind. I had to sneeze, not recenter my thoughts. Okay, so but yeah, it's very weird. Um, let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of the conversation today, and that is music. So what are some of your favorite genres, your favorite types of music? What do you usually dabble in, and what is your not necessarily experience, but your interest in Lego music going forward?
all right. So you probably couldn't tell from the picture. I am a huge metalhead. I was born and raised on like folk music such as Gordon Lightfoot and all that stuff. A lot of late 60s, early 70s rock, um, which to this day is still some of my favorite stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, like when it comes to metal, I'm a huge fan of like really atmospheric stuff. So let's see, what are some good ones? I don't want to, if anyone here's, I don't want to throw them immediately into the really weird stuff.
Hmm.
Sorry. So I think there's a band called Botanist, which is very experimental. They use hammered dulcimers instead of guitars, so everything has this very kind of metallic, uh, kind of eerie sound to it instead of guitars and bass and all that other stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love Sabaton, which I'm sure I'm gonna see a bunch of comments later on about it. But yeah, for those who don't know, they're kind of more, or they're what's called power metal, which is very fantasy esque. But they sing
Hmm.
about world history, a lot of World War II, World War One. They have an album called Heroes, which is about a bunch of different war heroes throughout World War II. So Audie Murphy from the U.S., Vito Pilecki from Poland, so on and so forth. Their last album, The Last Stand, obviously, as you can probably tell, us about famous last stands in history, such as Battle of Shiroyama, which is the last stand of the samurai,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
so
Okay.
on and so forth. So yeah,
Okay. Fair enough. I see. All right. This is all stuff I'm entirely unfamiliar with. I'm very unacquainted when it comes to, or not unacquainted. What's the phrasing for it? But basically, I don't know a lot
you don't
about
dabble
metal.
with it.
Yeah, there we go. That's
Yeah,
that's the proper way of saying it. I don't dabble in metal, basically whatsoever. So,
yeah,
um, and as a general rule, uh, I metal is usually all right, but death metal is like, all right, no, that's
yeah. It's a bit
that's
much for everyone,
that's too much, too much. But
right?
so when it comes to Lego music, like I'm familiar very heavily with Bionicle sounds and songs, and it's very interesting looking back and seeing how differently Bionicle music has changed over the years. Um, I think our first kind of interaction with Bionicle music, which of course would be in 2001, would be with a couple of different things. First, it would be with Minogue, with that feel, that sound, a very techno-y aesthetic. And then right after that, it would be with the Power Pack. Now, the Power Pack was. So, Power Pack for me falls into a little bit of a gray area. I'll go ahead and bring a picture up right now. And it's a little bit of a contentious subject when it comes to me. So, this is the Power Pack. And the Power Pack is and isn't a set. Now, the reason I say this is because it is, BSO1 describes it, Bionicle Sector 01, which is the best Bionicle resource online for knowledge. The Bionicle Power Pack was a special package released in 2001 under the set number 8546. Now, there's a little bit of debate when it comes to whether or not this is a set, because it technically doesn't just have a set. It does have a buildable figure and a collectible item. The buildable figure is a character by the name of Hafu. So this comes with the Power Pack. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces with a disc. It additionally comes with a singular mask, and that is a chrome-plated mask. Now, that all would lead one to suggest it is a set. However, this also contains a poster and a CD. Now, the CD contains 3 music tracks, which means, and this is centered around the CD, it is not centered around the set. The set is kind of an addition to this. So it's not really, it has a set component, but that's to kind of catch everyone up to speed. Nathan, are you familiar with the songs on the Power Pack?
I can't list any of the top of my head. I know that there was the promotional one that they were going to make and then never did. And it was supposed to have like a lot of like very late 90s, early 2000s bands. The only one I can remember off the top of my head was Rob Zombie for some reason.
Yes. Okay.
But
So
yeah,
what you're talking about something that comes a little bit later. So
all
when
right.
it comes to Lego music, or at least Bionicle music, Power Pack is where we really got our first taste, as it were. I'll play a little bit of it because I don't think that it's copyrighted. At least I don't think it's claimable.
Yeah.
But so it's kind of stuff like this very atmospheric, almost very techno feel, and it had 3 tracks like that. And what Nathan you're referring to, you are talking about Bionicle the album.
That's right. Okay.
So, Bionicle the album was originally it was a project that was supposed to be released in 2002. And I'll go ahead and read this little blurb from Biosector 1. An official Bionicle album was originally planned for release in 2002, but the project was scrapped when disagreements arose between the LEGO Group and Interscope Records, the company that they planned to partner with. Advertisements for the album revealed that it was planned to feature such artists as the post-grunge band Cold, the artist Kenna, the metal rock singer Rob Zombie, and alternative band Woven. There was a URL for the website, but the site never actually launched, and it never came to fruition. I'm not familiar with those individuals, but tell me what we would have heard if that. What do you think we would have heard if that actually came to light?
To be honest, I'm not entirely sure. Like, literally, the only thing I really even know about Rob Zombie, other than that he's like a musician, is a lot of movies that that he's directed, which honestly would have shocked me if Lego had actually ended up partnering with him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in fact, I would actually argue that that could have ended up being the biggest Lego controversy after the certain art project of a certain event, which we won't get into on this podcast, I'm sure.
You'll have to tell me afterwards. I'm not. It's not ringing any bells, but we'll worry about
Yeah,
that
you
afterwards then.
mentioned it on you. Oh, well, all right.
But um, but all right, interesting. So that you believe that would have been a substantial controversy?
Yeah, I mean, due to like the appearance of Rob Zombie with a lot of his music, it's like very I want to say dark, which is part of it, but it's also very, very adult. In fact, I don't think a single movie that he's made has been rated anything less than NC-17.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah,
And Lego was planning to feature him as an artist. That's fascinating. Gosh,
it
dang.
is.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, I did not
Actually,
realize that.
I take that back. He did direct the Halloween remake a few years ago.
Oh, okay. I saw that was
What?
around. Have never watched it. I don't think I've seen a single Halloween movie.
Yeah.
So,
So, to my knowledge, that may be R, or at least very hard PG-13.
fair enough.
So, yeah,
All right. Well, but that's also recent. That's very recent. So that
yeah,
wouldn't have been
that
around.
is also very recent. But
Yeah. So, interesting. Okay. So after that, when it comes to Bionicle music, around 2003-ish, we had from '03 to '06, we had a variety of different things. So for '03, we saw Swift and Danny. Now, I'm not entirely familiar with these two individuals, but they released 2 songs. The second was a techno mix, very similar to the Power Pack music we just heard. But the first one, if you're a member of the Bionicle community, you're reasonably familiar with Insane Bionicle Brain.
oh no,
Now, I don't have that on hand right now, so I can't play it. But if you just look up Insane Bionicle Brain, it's an experience.
not a good one, but an experience.
Yeah, it's special. So,
It's also one of those things that could have never been made in any other year than the very, very early 2000s, if that gives you guys an idea.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I will wholeheartedly agree with that. Um, Bionicle music took another kind of twist as it went from this very techno feel, like this, it's usually pretty techno with the earlier music with Minogue 2, and then it took a little bit more of a different direction with the Mask of Light film. Nathan first composed it with classical instrumentation. So it's very classic music sounding. It's got a lot of orchestral feel to it. How do you feel about those songs, Nathan?
Personally, I really do love pretty much all of the soundtracks to Bionicle. In fact, I don't know if I can make this offer, but actually, ever since I got into guitar a couple years ago, I've been trying to find tabs for the piano suite from Mask of Light. So if anybody has a copy of it, if you can post it in the comments or on the message boards, that would be very much appreciated. But if not, if you're one of those people who is incredible with piano and guitar and can actually like map out the tabs for so, if you're willing, I am willing to offer money for the tabs if that can be done. But
Honestly,
anyways,
you might want to reach out to Nathan first.
actually, that might be a might be an even better idea.
Because
I actually wasn't even thinking about that, but
he's on Twitter.
yeah, yeah, he's on Twitter. In fact, I actually believe I'm following him. Yeah,
Perfect. All right, yeah,
if that
no.
doesn't work, yeah, I'll just throw that out there. But yeah, I know that I know that a lot of fans don't like to talk about the Legend Reborn. However, honestly, I think that movie has probably the best soundtrack out of all of the movies.
Really? Well, this is a
I know
hot take.
yeah,
Elaborate.
I mean, I do I really do love the orchestral sound of the original trilogy. However, with like the entrance to Tassara scene, if you remember that music, it's like the very
Mm-hmm.
kind of like techno, very tribal almost,
Mm-hmm.
or not tribal, but like very Roman.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
a
no,
lot of
I
that,
do remember that. It's
yeah,
very
it's very action
gladiatorial.
packed.
Or gladiatorial? You know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
it's very action packed. Whereas the other movies, it's very kind of laid back, almost kind of Lord of the Rings esque.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where like I feel like the Legend Reborn soundtrack almost fits Bionicle better.
Okay. Now, obviously enough, there continues to be another shift after the orchestral feeling from 2003, 4, and 5. The movies kind of stopped for a little bit, and we ended
Yeah,
up getting into in '05 All Insane Kids, which did songs such as Hero, Caught in a Dream, and eventually we ended up getting into 2006 with the Paraka rap, easily the worst song Bionicle has ever seen. Only just
I would
very
say
narrowly beating Face Me.
I would actually argue that Insane Bionicle Brain is worse than Rocker Rap, but it is up there. It's something.
I legitimately, I unironically cannot stand the Paraka rap, because one of my least favorite music genres is rap.
No,
So
I agree entirely.
yeah, and of course that's just a preference thing, preferential. Everyone is free to enjoy what they do. And eventually, so this all kind of comes to a head in 2006 with Frida Band, which is what I mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
which was with the band The All American Rejects with their very well known song. This kind of put them on the map, Move Along. Um, and that kind of saw a shift for Bionicle overall. It made it very almost, I don't want to say alt rock. I don't know what the proper terminology is for what Bionicle's soundtrack became. Kind of theme.
Yeah, I would argue it's also like very alt rock, maybe even like post grunge, kind of that era. But yeah, with like Daughtry, All American Rejects, Cryo Shell, it is very alt rock.
Okay. Yeah.
In fact, speaking of Cryo Shell, have you heard anything or from Niels Brink after uh Face Me and
And Gravity Hurts? No.
yeah, and Gravity? I actually stumbled across it actually earlier this week. It only has a small handful of songs, but to my knowledge, he was, I think, a winner on kind of Denmark's equivalent of like The Voice or America or not America's Got Talent.
Oh gosh.
What's the other singing one?
I know what you're talking about. It's the music one.
Yeah, but
It's the one
anyway,
Chris
so
Daughtry was on.
yeah, so
Here, I'll
it
find
is
it real
that
fast.
exact same
American
kind of
Idol.
generic American Idol. Yes, thank you. Yeah,
Mm.
it's that very same kind of generic um, radio happy sound stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Only has a small handful of songs, but yeah. In fact, I actually I don't even think I can clump in Cryo Shell with the rest of that. But
Mm-hmm. It's Cryo Shell is a little bit of an outlier,
yeah,
especially in how they formed, because Cryo Shell was a little bit of an in-house deal. They kind of formed out of Lego.
yeah,
Um, I mean, let me see if I can. Gosh, BSO1. I'm having a little bit. Oh no, there we go. There's the link. Um, I believe, yeah. Well, they're Danish rock band formed in Copenhagen. Cryoshell was formed as a group in late 2006 when the lead singer was contacted by Lego to produce a song, and then another employee of Advance, and then three other people were hired for a one-off recording, and from there, kind of sprung off. So
right,
Advance, but Lego
all
did
right,
definitely help bring them into the world, as it were.
yeah. So all right,
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's interesting. It's kind of a unique way of assembling things. But at this point, like coming up to 2009, 2010, so on and so forth, um, Bionicle has a much different sound. Like it's gone from this very techno kind of this kind of no, oh, okay, come on, no, that's not right. There we go. So it's gone from this to a very common rocky sound, like a very alt rock sound. How do you feel about that, first of all? And then how do you feel that it got to that stage? Do you feel it was like a marketing thing and it just kind of stuck? And do you think that it fits better than the techno, or they should have gone back to that? Or what are your thoughts on that transition?
I do believe without a doubt that it was a marketing bit. Also with problems with a lot like the animation department, such as like Templar and I believe Ghost.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Anyways, like the Vaki animations, all of Monog, Vinog, all that stuff. Like all the audio is very similar, but then of course they had kind of a falling out with the animation departments over disputes for kind of anything that you can imagine.
mm-hmm.
In fact, I believe you and I think it was Vakiri that mentioned this on the Beaver House podcast. But yeah, pretty much everything afterwards is kind of why Monog 2 is downright almost unbeatable.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Rumor has it, at the very least, that Templar Studios and Lego. Templar Studios is the company that made the Matt Nui online game, which was the first Bionicle Flash game. They made the follow-up sequel, and they made a slew of animations in between. Um, Rumor has it they had a falling out with Lego and tried to pull their files back, and or were rushed by Lego to get a product out. So very EA like, and it resulted in just a miserable gameplay experience in Monog 2. but I haven't heard anything to fully substantiate that. That might be something I need to reach out to Templar for clarification.
Yeah.
So,
In fact, also another example of Lego being in different copyright disputes. As you guys may have noticed, Lego Lord of the Rings is no longer able to be found on any like downloading platform, whether it be Steam, the Xbox Live Store, PlayStation Network, etc.
mm-hmm.
Um, because licensing issues with is it Warner Brothers games?
I believe that's who publishes it.
Yeah, it's them, and then like the movie studios behind Lord of the Rings and Lego have all kind of been having dispute discussions and all that stuff.
That's interesting because I mean I knew that you can't find it for download. Any of the
Yeah,
Lego Lord of the Rings themes or games,
yeah, yeah,
but I didn't know
and
why.
I've also noticed that kind of the same thing happened with like Templar and Ghost, like all that music and stuff. Once, like for anyone who doesn't know, when a company creates something like a movie or a video game or any of that stuff, you have to hire different departments and different companies and all sorts of other stuff to all work together to create a certain project. And if one thing goes wrong with payment or ownership or whatever you want for just even something so small as a single song or even like a bit of a song, that can create a bunch of different legal disputes and cost money and all sorts of things. Which, like, if you read into or for movies, especially with like comic book movies recently, since that's a big thing,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can have the whole thing planned out and everything. But if you don't have a director, you could have all the people hired. You could have different animation, CGI, stunt people, everything. If just one person backs out last minute, that sends the whole production into kind of this downward spiral to refix everything,
Mm-hmm.
which can cost even millions of dollars in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
Like, example, Ant-Man. Even though we do have the movie now, it was in production for I think close to almost 4 years
Yeah,
because it was just switching between like director to everything.
I remember this. I remember it was constantly being rebooted. Well, for the longest time, Ant Man was being directed. It was going to be directed by Edgar Wright, and everyone
Yeah,
was super excited because apparently he does a lot of crazy things with movies. I don't think I've seen an Edgar Wright movie. I'm not. No, no, I have Hot
Scott
Fuzz.
Pilgrim.
Hot Fuzz. I've seen Hot Fuzz.
Oh, yeah, Hot Fuzz.
That's the only one. Um,
All right.
and so everyone was super excited, but he had a massive disagreement with Marvel over the direction of the film and dropped out. Now we
Yeah.
have Peyton Reed, I believe. And that's no skin off my back. I don't care, personally. But apparently for a lot of people that's a big deal. But yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a good point that you bring up. And you definitely need a lot of the right people in a lot of the right places in order to get things to go where they need to.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
Oh, continue,
In
please.
fact, so like I was also going to say, like if you pull up IMDb, I don't know if the page is still there anymore, but you can list like all the different movies that have been announced,
Mm-hmm.
even by year. If you just go through it, if you have the time and you want to put forth the effort, try to make like a checklist of all the movies that are on that list that actually did end up coming out. It's
Mm-hmm.
astonishing because you have such an incredibly small amount that actually ended up being made.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was actually reading a few years ago, like right after I got into Sabaton, I was reading like a bunch of the stories behind each of the different songs.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I don't want to go super into detail because it's just such crazy stories. We'll be here all day if I start to get to talk about it. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's back in 2010. I can't remember the production studio, but it was like a really big Hollywood one. They were wanting to make a movie about Russia's night witches who long story short, during World War II, were given very, very poorly designed, often World War One surplus biplanes and crop dusters,
Mm-hmm.
and decided that working in factories aiding the war was getting too difficult. That they actually started to use the things that they had been able to learn in the factory, such as like welding and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
rig small kind of like bomb holders to the wings of their airplanes,
Mm-hmm.
which, uh, due to almost 20 years of not being able to be used, could only make it maybe a few 100 feet off the ground at most. And were
Mm-hmm.
incredibly loud, only could hold like maybe one or two people at a time, were often made up mostly of wood and canvas.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the rest of the war, you're having like the B-17s and just all that stuff where they are massive, massive feats of engineering that even if they lose most of their wings, their tail, and are only onto one engine, are still capable of flying.
Mm-hmm.
If you just shoot at like one of their biplanes with just so much as a pistol, the whole thing catches fire and there's nothing you can do
Yeah.
except plunge 300 feet out of the sky.
Just you plummet. You're
And so,
done. You go
yeah,
from a
in
plane to a
fact,
brick.
yeah. And so what they were able to do is they would actually stall their engines as high as they could get it, and then doing so would actually stop the engine and cause them to just fall in complete silence. They would get out of the plane, climb on top of it as it's still falling from the sky, start the engine again by hand, climb back in, drop the bomb only maybe 20 feet
Oh, that seems so
off the
close.
ground, and then fly off. In fact, it scared the German
Oh.
army so much that they thought that they were actually being attacked by witches, because literally the only sound that they could hear, and by then it was too late, was the sound of the wooden engine starting, which sounded like broom sweeping, and potentially women laughing as they've just realized that they've completely demolished German base.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, so there was a movie with a bunch of names tied to it and everything that was set for release back in 2011
Mm-hmm.
and was never able to be made because nobody was able to fund the movie.
Huh. See, but that sounds like a
And
fascinating movie. I mean, it's a fascinating
yeah, in
story.
fact, there's another one for the deadliest sniper in world history, Simo Haya. There's a
Mm-hmm.
whole movie that was actually given a greenlit script, was funded. There's even a movie poster on it with the name and production and everything, but they couldn't get anybody to star in it.
That's weird.
So
That seems
yeah,
like
so
something
even though
people
that,
would go for, but I'm not
yeah,
I'm not a
yeah,
Hollywood
and I
guy,
mean,
so.
yeah, so yeah, like this stuff actually happens very often.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that hiring, to like get back on topic, instead of constantly just shelling out potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars to create a video game and hire like all the people to program it, make money or make music for it, all that stuff, it is
Mm-hmm.
honestly at this point just cheaper to just have a couple of people that have any skill with like recording something, quickly make a 30-second song just off the top of their head, then just slap it onto every commercial,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of, in a way, how we got things like the Paraka rap.
I see. Yeah, and that
So,
sounds about right.
yeah. And I mean, also with the money that Lego gets, honestly, I think going for the All American Rejects was easily the most financially safe choice and also the most logical. Like, if you're having a very fast uprising or upcoming band, yeah, you want to try to tie your name to that as much as possible to get the money from it.
Yeah, you really want to go all in on that, and it just occurred to me there is an image for the Free the Band promotion. I remember they went all in for this too,
Yeah,
because like they had a website, they had tie-ins with a game, um, I think at the very end they recorded a video with the band members just playing with like the Toanica or something.
I think
Um,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, I still have the Lego magazine uh, fold out somewhere
Mhm. Yeah.
advertising it, but
But I
yeah, this
definitely,
was
I definitely think that when it came to the All American Rejects, it definitely set a new precedent for Bionicle's sound going forward. Because in the YouTube live chat, I believe the Dinosaur Planet said very accurately that Bionicle before had a techno plus indigenous feel, which I feel is perfectly accurate, and it
yeah,
definitely certifiably like it was kind of weaning off of that a little bit. Like by 2004, it didn't have that too strongly, but by 2006, it was gone and never came
yeah.
back. But do you feel that this ended up being a good thing? Like, do you still think that that techno indigenous feel would have worked in the later years?
Absolutely not, in my opinion. Um, like, well, I do. I mean, I don't have a laptop anymore. It actually destroyed itself on New
Oh,
Year's, unfortunately.
rest in pieces. That thing was a trooper.
Starting off, yeah, starting off like 3 months of just bad things happening after each other. But
Oh no. Yeah, I see what you mean.
yeah.
You had you definitely had a TTV episode 300 here.
Oh, like I don't want to put VAR down or anything, but if I mean, if we still have time and I can talk over a bunch of the things, I'm pretty sure VAR will be so glad that he just had that, unfortunately.
I don't
But
know if I want to be super depressed today. We'll
uh,
see if we have
but
time for it.
all right,
But we should definitely try and wrap our discussion about music.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, continue.
So like I'll say this, like while Voinui Online does still keep that original atmosphere of like Monog and all that, both uh, kind of visually and sound wise. I
Hmm.
think that as the story progressively got more and more mature, trying to also get a hold of that kind of demographic would uh, tie in perfectly with both the creative choices of Bionicle and also just story wise.
Hmm.
Because I
Okay.
mean, like I'm not gonna lie. In fact, I don't think anybody will deny this. 2006 is potentially one of the darkest years in Bionicle's story.
Mm,
Like, or at least, or at least it's way up there.
I would definitely agree it's way up there. I think there you could find some contention for the number one spot, but for the sake of conversation, we'll say yeah. But do
Yeah,
continue.
yeah. Like when you get to kind of like darker subjects that you get in 2006 with like a lot of the Paraka, the Dark Hunters, just constant like war and stuff.
Hmm.
I think that also getting potentially darker, more heavier music and all that stuff would definitely be able to keep that.
That
Because
consistency,
like,
that tonal
yeah,
consistency. Yeah.
because I mean, imagine like how many of the Bionicle comics have you read? Just out of
All
curiosity.
of them.
All right, so you know the final 2 pages of the December 2005 issue, where it just shows the Matoran canister just flowing up onto the shore of Voyanui.
No, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like could you picture that just with like the very soft, happy sound of the original movie trilogy?
Yeah, it would not have worked.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah. As Bionicle changed over time, so did, of course, its music need to follow suit.
yeah.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Um, Now, do you have any specific tracks from Bionicle that you really really liked? Anything specifically that stuck out to you? And contrary to that, what did you feel did not fit at all? What did you really really dislike?
Um, there are a couple of songs in like the movies that, due to just being like a very quick, like 10-second bit of music, while it's still marketed as a single song, personally, I don't think it even belongs there really. So I don't know if I can exactly count that as stuff like I didn't really like. However, well, I do enjoy songs like "Crash" and "Face Me." I would argue that they're probably kind of the weakest out of anything that was tied to Bionicle.
Really? I mean, I agree with
Yeah,
Face Me. Crashed.
yeah,
I see where you're coming from with Crashed. I liked Crashed, but I kind of get that perspective. I absolutely
yeah.
couldn't
Like,
stand Face Me. I could not stand Face Me. I still can't.
like honestly, I do enjoy "Face Me" more than "Crash." Personally, that's just me. Um,
Hmm.
like there are a lot of other like really popular songs from that area that I think could have potentially even worked better.
Hmm.
But
Would you have
yeah,
some specific examples that you? I can't cite anything. I have no idea.
sorry, like all the albums from like that area kind of just
Kind of blur together.
yeah,
Fair
I,
enough.
I mean, I think potentially something like "New Divide" by Linkin Park could have potentially worked for the Mari better.
Interesting.
Like
That's
I
that's
don't like
interesting.
I'm not like a Linkin Park fan by any means, but kind of like that very dark intro.
I could see that. I could see
Yeah.
that. And I mean, it's not like they were adverse to it. There was an Antros test animation. It was a very early test animation of one singular character done by the new animation studio for the next movie, The Legend Reborn, Tinseltown Tunes, I believe they were called. And
Yeah.
the song they used for the Antros test animation was "By Myself" by Linkin Park, a song I am not familiar with.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one either. I'm only familiar with just a small handful of their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like a lot of the stuff that they use for the Michael Bay Transformers, although those movies are kind of a joke. Remember, like, do you remember the movie trailers?
No.
Right, just like the very slow, dark build with uh, "What I've Done," kind of like that, like very spooky
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
piano intro. Yeah, imagine showing that as the Toa terrain crawler or the underwater
I'm gonna need to
crawler.
ask Meso to do a little bit of a compilation of that. He likes doing a lot of
All
music
right,
videos. Like if you look up Bionicle music video, there's a really good chance you'll see a lot of his early Bionicle music videos with Linkin Park.
all
So
right.
I'm gonna need to get him to do that mashup. Mm.
But yeah, like just based on like the lighting and the feel of everything, I think that kind of like that darker, kind of more gritty rock
Mm-hmm.
fits 2007 much better than Crashed, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Okay, fair
But
enough.
yeah, I think like Bye Bye Babylon and Gravity Hurts almost perfectly capture kind of like the 2008, 2009 sound and feel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Move Along, I think it's a little too upbeat for 2006. At least everything except for the like 10 seconds of piano in there.
Mm-hmm. I, I can kind of see that. Kinda.
But
I don't have a super strong. I liked Move Along. I thought that
yeah,
it was really catchy, especially for the Anika. But I can kind of see where you're getting at.
yeah, like I still absolutely love the All American Rejects, but I also think that absolutely nothing else could have been used in 2006 because based on just like a visual standpoint of both kind of like the music and just the look of 2006's designs, it's kind of like I was saying earlier, it's one of those things that could only be made in that year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree. I definitely think it's definitely a product of its age.
Yeah,
So
it's a very strange product of its time, but yeah, it is a product of its time nonetheless.
yeah, that is reasonable. That's fair. That's a very interesting take. I think that's very interesting that you feel that way. Well, what do you think about any of the outside of Face Me, of course, any of the other Cryo Shell tracks?
I really do enjoy Cryo Shell. In fact, I really do hope that the new album does come to fruition.
Oh yeah, the one for yeah, the thing. I know the thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's the the thing.
the rig,
Mm,
I think is what it's called, but
Oh gosh.
anyway, but
I'll find it in just a moment. But do continue.
yeah, like I do think Nature Girl was a very interesting or a very interesting addition. Don't Look Down, I wasn't a fan of. I do enjoy a lot of their other stuff on the one album that they do have, except for like Murky. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's like two or three others that I'm not a huge fan of.
Rebel
Yeah, like
Nature. That was it.
Rebel Nature, that's right. Um, I think Come to My Heaven could have actually even worked much better for 2008 for the Mystica era, other than um,
As opposed to Gravity Hurts.
close. No, as opposed to
Oh, for the Mystica. Closer
yeah,
to
for
the
the Mystica,
truth.
closer to the truth. I was going to say closer to my soul, but I know that that wasn't right.
But Nathan, dude, Closer to the Truth has the word swamp in it, and they were in a swamp. Duh.
Yes,
Apparently, according to Greg, that was completely and utterly unintentional. I don't believe
yeah,
that fully, but yeah, that'd be fascinating.
yeah. Like Come to My Heaven does have kind of that same 2009 sound to it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do think that like the Storm, the Kodrex, kind of all of that side, other than like the Swamp, it almost would have fit perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
then Breakout was another one that I wasn't a fan of.
Breakout
Not
worked
because it was
very
Hero
well for
Factory.
Breakout, which was
I
a
mean,
Hero Factory, easily the best Hero Factory wave that they had. But
yeah, I agree.
Hero Factory nonetheless.
Yeah. Um,
That's
let's see.
interesting. Um, so would you say that Bionicle progressed decently musically, or do you wish there was a?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough. Okay, you
Like
don't
I
feel that there was
do.
another place that you would have rather they had switched instead?
I mean, personally, I think that they were fine exactly where they were. I do wish that, of course, we had more sets and a more complete story. In fact, even if they were still making sets, I know
Mm-hmm.
of a few songs that actually could have worked perfectly for their sound. Um,
Mm-hmm.
in fact, I don't know how familiar anyone in the chat or who's listening may be with it, but there's a band called Alien Weaponry. They're a metal band from New Zealand who makes kind of like the Haka chants and all that stuff with kind of like the sound of like Metallica, all that
Hmm.
stuff. So it does. In fact, one of their songs, Rowan Te Whenua, I think is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
It does uh, capture almost this perfect amalgamation of both kind of the very early 2001, 2002 aesthetic with also kind of the sound of the later stuff like 2008, 2009.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So you feel that would have been good to hear at which point? Hang on. Okay, there we go. Just some slight technical difficulty. So, at what point
All right.
would you have wanted that? Would you have seen that introduced?
Like the
The
song
Yeah, the
or
New Zealand band you were referring to.
yeah.
Like, at
Uh,
what point do you feel
I
that would have
would
been applicable?
I would absolutely say late 2002, early 2003
Okay, all right.
because it does
Mm-hmm.
like I know that there was a huge controversy with like the Maori government and the language and everything early on in Bionicle.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that it probably wouldn't have been allowed at the time, but
Mm-hmm.
It does keep that very kind of Pacific Island uh, sound and design of the late uh, 2001, 2002 era, while also combining it with kind of a more kind of extreme, um, a more heroic progression of 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just in that very brief spring wave of 2003 may have worked perfectly.
Okay. All right. And just for anyone who might be interested, what would you? Oh, sorry. What was the name of the band?
They're called Alien Weaponry.
Okay. Alien Weaponry. Okay. Fair enough.
There's another band called The Who, spelled HU. They're this Mongolian band who does kind of the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but they only have two songs out at the moment. But I think that they probably would have fit more with 2001, 2002.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Fair enough. All right. All right. Well, in that case, we are coming closer to the end here, but I did want to touch on one other a subject pertaining to Lego music. Now, I'll probably need to have you back again so that we can talk about more system-centric themes, like for the Lego Island
All right.
games, and so on and so forth. But I did very briefly want to talk to you about the music from the Lego movies and how you felt about those, or if you're more familiar, Lego Ninjago. Do you...
I absolutely, yeah. I haven't seen the new Lego movie,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's been a while since I've seen the first Lego movie. I haven't seen Ninjago yet, but I did enjoy Lego Batman. I did enjoy the first one. Um,
Okay.
I absolutely loved Ninjago when it was first released. I love the show, and then I just from like a point of like distraction and just not being able to um, have like the free time to watch the rest of the show, I did kind of fall out right after the snakes.
Mm-hmm.
I think the season finale with that one, where or with Pythor, was the last time I actually like watched a full episode. I've seen like brief bits and pieces where Cole becomes a ghost for a little bit, but yeah, other than that, I'm I'm honestly really behind.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Yeah. No, I definitely recommend catching up. Like
All
Ninjago
right,
is it's still good. It's still definitely good. I think there's a lot of controversy with the recent seasons for a variety of reasons, but I definitely will recommend it. When it comes to the music of Ninjago, I've always thought that it's so tonally on point. Um,
yeah.
Maybe with the exception of oh goodness, what's the band? The Fold,
Oh
but
yeah, the fold.
even they do a really good job. Like the music is, it's very catchy. They obviously jump up. It's very centered around the show. But as far as the actual
Yeah.
music in the show, done by heavens, Jay Vincent, I believe it is something Vincent.
Yeah,
Uh,
something.
he does a stellar job with the soundtrack. I feel like there's no better way to do that soundtrack.
Yeah, I agree. I do love the Ninjago soundtrack. I haven't like sat down and like listened to it piece by piece, but just from like watching the show, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Hmm. Absolutely. And like I said, I feel like I'm gonna have to when we have more time. I'm gonna need to have you on again so that we can talk more Lego music because Bionicle is obviously a huge chunk
Yeah,
um, of Lego and their musical repertoire. But there's so much more to discuss, and I feel like that would be really fascinating to delve into, especially Ninjago.
yeah.
But all right, and
Like,
by that point, you gotta watch the second Lego movie, man. It's
yeah.
it's
And
it's
then
a part musical.
like before we close,
Mhm.
I've also been like a huge fan of a lot of the older stuff. Like I've
Mhm.
been really wanting to get like my hands on some like the M-Tron sets, Rock Raiders.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like while I do enjoy like the modern Lego games,
Mhm.
growing up since I wasn't allowed to play a whole lot of video games, I'm almost one of those, video games cause violence and Satan and all that stuff. But I also wasn't allowed to watch like anything other than somehow Samurai Jack.
That I
Just
won't
so
I won't ask. I won't question it. Samurai
yeah,
Jack doesn't
don't
seem
question
like
it. I try to figure out the logic behind that as well. I can't, but
fair enough.
like I think a lot of the older games, such as Rock Raiders and Legoland, I really do kind of want to see a return to form with those.
Very
Like,
experimental, very kind of out there looking designs and stuff like that.
yeah, like I think that Legoland is a very, very fun park simulator game. In fact, I'd still argue it's probably one of the best, even though it's a dead genre by this point.
Just
But yeah,
interesting. I've never played it. I think I'm gonna have to
either.
change that at some point.
All right. Yeah. Also, both Lego Racers games.
Also, have not played those, but I probably should.
All right. Lego Racers 2 is very different than the first one, but I'd
Okay.
also argue the first one is much more fun. I tried to find a copy of, or like a digital copy of Rock Raiders because my laptop didn't have a disc port, as you probably remember that
I remember,
poor,
yeah.
poor, horrible thing.
Rest in tiny technic pieces,
Yeah.
technological pieces.
For anyone who doesn't know, I had one of the HP Pavilion laptops, which is like the one where the screen can turn into like a tablet. So it wasn't able to run a whole lot of things other than like really old video games and different like art programs, because that's basically what it was built for, not for like work or gaming or any of that stuff. So I could run Skyrim with maybe 3 mods if I ran it on the lowest quality settings. And
Gosh.
even then, it wasn't very good. I was mostly getting like frost trolls just T-posing and hovering around me.
Oh,
But it was bad. A lot of
yeah.
the textures wouldn't even load, and at point, like I got to a point where the story mode was completely unplayable because it just wouldn't load anything. But yeah, and then uh, maybe about 2 weeks before December when we all got together, the fan broke, and so I kind of wish I had more video from that because I think there was at one point where we subtly just got louder and louder just because my fan was just creating so much buzzing that we could like barely have just a regular conversation without
Yeah.
need to raise our voices a little bit. But
Oh gosh. Those
yeah,
are
and
the
then
times.
yeah, I was about to pull up Amazon on my laptop to get like a replacement fan bit, and then I just heard like the snap, and
Oh
it
gosh.
all stopped. The screen just went black. The whole thing turned off. I turned back on. It took 45 minutes to boot up.
Holy Toledo.
I Yeah, and the mouse kept freezing. By the time I was able to hit like the start option, I'd say maybe additional 30 minutes had gone by. Pulled up Task Manager, which froze 3 times, and then it just turned back off. I tried turning it on again. It would have like the loading screen, maybe make it about halfway, and then turn off again. And so, yeah, for the last several months, I've been out of a laptop. So, yeah, say if you can find like if you have a PC with a CD port, you can find the game on Amazon for only I think like maybe like $20 at used because it's pretty old and hard to come by.
Yeah. And then there's the
Yeah,
matter of trying to get it to work. I know some Bionicle
yeah,
games will not work.
yeah. Like Lego Island, I believe some of the games you need to find like an older model, which I mean you can find at like a pawn shop for I don't know maybe $10 or
Yeah.
so.
Oh yeah. No, that wouldn't be too
So
difficult.
yeah, it's not too difficult to find like an old program and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
the Rock Raiders. Rockridge game was personally my favorite. In fact, I'd say it's much better than the Bionicle games.
Really?
Although, yeah, although I mean they do have a place in my heart, of course. Uh, for those who don't know, the Rock Raiders game is a real time strategy similar to like StarCraft or that stuff.
I did not know that
It
actually.
is, yeah, it is a bit buggy and it is a little difficult, but it is incredibly fun.
Hmm.
Also,
Interesting.
since it's easily the most out there video game from Lego,
Mm-hmm.
whereas everything is kind of that same Lego feel.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, Rock Raiders definitely. I mean, minus the Lego minifigs and sets, of course, does feel like a late '90s a real time strategy game. So if that's kind of your alley, I say absolutely do whatever you can to try to find a copy and
Mm-hmm.
play it if you can.
Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that. That sounds
All right,
very interesting. After I'm done playing the Mario games.
no worries.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, in that case, Nathan, do you want to answer some questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. In that case, it's question time. We do actually have some email questions that were sent in. So, first one is by the Dinosaur Planet, who asks, Nathan and LJ, what are your thoughts on the music of Monog and Monog 2?
I mean, we kind of went over that for a while, but yeah, I do enjoy it. Um, while it's personally not my favorite, I do really enjoy the sound of the online Bionicle games.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of all that there is, in my opinion, to say about it. There's not anything super special, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I'm incredibly partial to it. I think a lot of those songs are absolutely excellent,
I
personally.
mean, yeah, I mean they're great, but I mean I think we did have better at some points. But
I
yeah,
definitely one thing I wish we had was an improved quality because they're very old now, obviously enough.
absolutely,
But yeah, obviously I definitely had a lot of experience with them from Monog. Um, One track that I always am partial to is this one. It's the Liquor band track, and people on stream will be able to hear it.
oh, I
Um,
love that one.
it's so good. I especially like this one part. Do a little bit of skipping. Okay, I can't find the one part, but it's a part. Gosh, it's when Liwa comes out of the toa canister.
Oh,
It's
of
it's
course, that's where you like it the most.
it's so good though. Not
Yeah,
the toa
I mean,
canister, but the
yeah,
suva. But yeah, no, it's really. I definitely am partial to both of those tracks. More so Monog than Monog 2. Monog 2, I don't remember as much, obviously.
yeah.
Okay, the next questions were sent in by Leasander Magnus, who asks the following. First of all, what Lego set have you had the best the best experience building?
Oh, the Saturn V from Lego Ideas.
Really?
Yeah, like I'm just gonna leave it at this. Everything is entirely to scale. The lunar module that comes with the whole moon landing and everything fits into the final stage of the rocket. Everything separates into different parts. And like I said, even though it comes with like the micro figures, everything is entirely to scale to the actual rocket.
Fair enough. That's excellent. Okay. All right.
Like, well, it does use that like symmetrical build, which can get kind of tedious at times, which is
Oh
once again
yeah.
just Lego. But yeah, it is an incredibly fun build.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Um, I will say the Lego Ninjago City, easily most fun I've ever had building any Lego set. All right. His second question is: if you could own any Kanohi in Platinum, not just the Evoki, which would it be?
I'm probably going to be really controversial for this, but one of the Anika masks.
It's not too controversial.
I mean, like I know that they are kind of ugly. Personally, I've always enjoyed the design from it. I do wish that like I could have like different colored eye stalks, like standard masks.
Hmm.
But yeah, probably either the Caden or the Iden.
That's fair. Caden does not surprise me.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, my answer is obvious. It's the
Yeah.
Kenohi Miru, and that doesn't surprise anyone. All right. His third and final question is: what has been your favorite part of being in the Bionicle community? Since a lot of folks tend to focus on the worst parts.
I would honestly probably say probably the community. Like, well, yes, there are unfortunately a few.
Bad parts. We'll say that.
Yeah, few bad parts. In fact, honestly, if you even look up just like videos in the biotube community, you're bound to find at least three channels that are just very hateful
Oh yeah.
towards kind of everyone else in the group. Fortunately, personally, I've had a lot more fun talking with a lot of the members of the community online. Like Voxumo is probably the one person I talk to the most. He's great. I interact uh, pretty common or pretty actively with like like Orion, uh, Booster Gold, kind of all those guys.
Hmm.
I really do enjoy Abusive Power, even though it's not as active as it remotely used to be,
Hmm.
which is honestly very unfortunate. But yeah, yeah, every single time that I met another like Bionicle fan, in fact, I don't know if he's listening to this, but probably one of my best friends at the moment. His name's Taylor. In fact, we hang out like every week. Really, the first night that I met him, we were joking about just kind of the stupid things that we remember growing up. And I casually just brought up the Free the Band because it's just such a weird moment in Lego's history. He immediately stops, gets up, goes to his room, comes out like 20 seconds later with just this huge crate of Bionicle sets. And well, I'm the only person in my fan group that is still underage. Everyone else is half drunk, just vaguely just mumbling that, oh, I remember that stuff. And then there's me and him who have just been going off for, I'd say, maybe a good hour at least, just all the stuff that we remember, so like our favorite parts of it and everything.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, like I've met you in person. I've met Tenebrae Invictus in person.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
I would, yeah, I would love to meet like the rest of the TTV crew minus a certain ex member, but we don't have to
Brickfair,
talk about that. But
Virginia. Brickfair,
yeah,
Virginia. Just saying.
I mean, if you guys are going again this year or next, I'm actually planning on hoping to go sometime. So
Dude, I'm just saying. If we get you, we get Mir, we get Andre, get you guys over to Brick
oh,
Fair. Oh
that'd be great.
snap! Oh
Yeah.
gosh,
I I don't
reunion.
know how you may feel about the me mentioning this group, but Bionicle mask posting
Oh yeah,
on the
that's
yeah
awesome.
on the infernal site that is Facebook.
That
But
is true. Facebook is
yeah,
garbage.
yeah, honestly, I'd say maybe good like 20 people that I'm friends with on there have been people that I've just met through or through mask posting.
Mm-hmm.
Just a ton of fellow Bionicle fans.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's fair.
So yeah,
Yeah. I can definitely echo a lot of those sentiments. For me, one of my favorite parts is always collaboration, working on things with other people, and
absolutely.
and of course discussion, talking about stuff. So productively though, not arguing.
Yeah.
um, All right, so we're going to move to the YouTube live chat for some questions. First
All
one
right.
is from Dark Nova 3529, who asks, question, thoughts on the Bionicle Heroes soundtrack?
Bionicle Heroes. Personally, I actually do really enjoy it. In fact, for a while, I had this MP3 player that had most of the soundtracks on it. Avex Dynamo is still probably like my favorite instrumental piece of Bionicle music.
Let me see. I have it right here.
Yeah, it's the very kind of to me,
Okay.
it sounds a lot like "Sweating Bullets" by Megadeth. If anyone has heard that song, it's also like kind of like very upbeat, kind of aggressive, almost kind of like film noir jazz kind of sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Interesting. I never actually heard that before. I'm sure I've heard it. I just never focused on it.
yeah,
Um, yeah, no, I think Bionicle Heroes has an excellent soundtrack. It's really solid. It's really varied. You got a lot of really good ones. Heck, even the title is it's so
yeah. The
iconic.
the main theme is incredible.
Yeah, I think it's very very varied soundtrack and really really cool.
Yeah.
Um, okay, moving on to other questions. Tesla Effect asks Nathan, have you ever eaten a mangosteen?
Personally, I have not. I know that you have, LJ.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've actually been wanting to try it.
You should.
All right.
Absolutely. I can vouch for it. Tesla Effect also asks Nathan and LJ, what are one of your favorite bands and favorite songs?
All right. I won't name my favorite band, personally, because they do have a bit of an offensive name, but
I appreciate
like I will say
your
this,
courtesy.
no, like they're not, they don't have any like swearing in their name. It's just that
No,
like
I
kind of
get you.
based on like the, yeah, but like a lot of their songs focus on like different kind of like famous like kind of religiously themed manuscripts all throughout history.
Mm-hmm.
And they sing them in like a long dead languages. In fact, my actual absolute favorite song. It's sung in ancient Greek, and it's a bunch of verses from Revelations in the Bible, just about like the apocalypse and stuff. But
Okay.
probably my second favorite band would be called Avatar.
I've seen that
They
movie.
are a yeah, yeah, they're a very kind of fun, easygoing, kind of goofy death metal band. But actually, the very first song I heard from them was from BZ Power. In the Rate the Song Above You uh, section on there, I heard their song Tower, which even to this day is still one of my favorite songs because it's like this very dark, atmospheric, uh, kind of sinister, but also kind of, how do I say this? It's kind of like this haunting, nostalgic feel. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Uh,
So yeah,
if Andre were here, I'm sure he'd bring up.
a Dragon Force.
I did. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not have a favorite band. I don't listen to bands. I don't have a favorite. I do have a favorite song though, and that is "Gunslinger" by Over It. It's a very cool song.
What? Wait, by who?
Over It. Over space it. So
Oh,
again,
sorry, like it keeps like cutting out like whenever you say it. So I only heard like over space.
yeah, Over It. Yeah,
Oh, over it.
that's the
Okay.
name of the band. But that's again, I don't listen to bands. I don't have a favorite band.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but the song is Gunslinger. All right. Tesla Effect also asks Nathan, what music do you think would fit for Bionicle Generation 2?
Sorry, the audio cut out there for a second. Like,
What
so
music do
for
you think
gener
would fit for G2?
G2, like I was saying earlier, Ron and Tefenua by actually, since we're going off of phonetic spelling, Ron Te Wenua
Mm-hmm.
by Alien Weaponry, easily fits perfectly along with their song Kai Tingata, I think is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So, like a lot of their songs still have Maori names.
Okay.
So like I'm kind of bad at remembering some of them, but
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
all right.
Okay. Very briefly, Maniac for Bricks made a note. And he said, one note I will make. Lauren Nelson, the original composer for most of the Lego Island 1 soundtrack, has brought back master track recordings of each of the songs and posted them to YouTube. So that is awesome.
Really?
Yes.
I will have to look into that.
Yeah. That's fantastic. The Dinosaur Planet asks, LJ, is Biocraft absolutely, definitively coming? Why do you guys not believe us? Okay, anyway, Tesla Effect asks, Nathan, did you ever make some Lego slash Bionicle mocks, and you have pictures of it to share with us?
I do. In fact, my Bionicles are still at Andre's house and have been since December.
Oh
But
no!
yeah, I mean, I just like I can't drive. He lives 20 miles away. We have different work schedules.
Nah, I get
Uh,
you. I get you.
yeah, unfortunately, that's the sad part about being an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually have a mock page. I think it's called Pagan Mocks. I haven't been active on it for I think almost a year now, but yeah, on Instagram. In fact, I'll even screenshot a bunch of the posts right now and send them to you.
That'd be awesome. Go for it.
All right.
Then I'll go ahead and post them. In the meantime, while you look for those, there's another question here from Clognog, who asks, are you planning on watching Borak 321's movie on live stream, or did you see it already? So I've seen it already. For anyone who's unaware, what he's referring to is a stop-motion animation done by Borak 321 called Bionicle Ignition War. Holy crud. Wow, we're going to talk about it on the TGV podcast at some point.
Oh, wait, if that's the one that I'm thinking of.
It's a very recently released one that's like 50 minutes long.
Yes.
And
yes, I did see that one. Yeah,
holy crud.
If we can, I mean, if we have time, maybe next time, or even potentially if you want to bring me on for a third time, I'm willing to talk about that one. And if it's not the one that I'm thinking of, there's also like the 2007 stop motion one.
Oh, I think you're thinking of Bionicle NP, Noah Productions films. This one is
Yes,
different
that's
from
the one that I'm thinking of.
this
Okay,
one is
then
different
yeah,
from those.
never mind. But yeah, I do really enjoy that one as well. I'm willing to talk about it for a while.
Fair enough. Yeah, and holy crud, like Ignition War is, I cannot stop recommending it. It's so out of this world. It's just so weird and amazing and well animated and funny and oh gosh.
All right. I am
Okay.
sending screenshots of the mocks right now into
Excellent.
the Discord chat.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Awesome. So I will go ahead and click, darn you. Open. There you go. Thank you. One of them has a Miru, so I'm content. All right, so I'll go ahead and post a couple of these. And here is a Juan. And this is a gnarly looking scythe.
The lighting in my basement isn't very good, and then that combined with the flash from my phone camera just to try to light up some of the darker accents. Sorry if you can't see it very well. I don't think I have any of these mocks still assembled anymore, sadly. But yeah, I will try to rebuild them and maybe post them to the channel once I get a new computer.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah, I can't make any promises, but I will definitely put the effort into it.
Fair enough. Well, these are still really cool. That's awesome.
Oh, and Tesla Effect is now liking a bunch of my
He's
my
going
posts.
through them. That's awesome.
All
All right.
right.
Tesla Effect also asks Nathan, thoughts on the Miramax soundtracks? Which is your favorite, and which song from it is your favorite?
Again, like the piano suite from Mask of Light is still my absolute favorite.
Oh, the da da
Um,
da da da
yeah,
da. That one?
yeah,
Oh yeah,
exactly.
agreed. Agreed.
Especially with like the closing credits, where
Mm-hmm.
it just gets like really intense for the first little bit, and then just kind of slowly dies down, almost comes to like a complete silence, and then begins with that.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
I
about.
still think, yeah. Um, Also kind of like the Rockshi theme,
Ah, that's a good one. That's a
and
really good one.
it was never released, but it did resurface on YouTube very recently. There was an unreleased version for a theme song for Rudaka that Nathan first composed, and it's very good.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to check that one out.
All right.
Fair enough. All right. Do. Let me see here. Next question is from Melatonin Moa, who asks, "Have you seen the album covers to Frontline Assembly Warmech and Artificial Soldier?"
Doesn't sound familiar.
So, I know what Moa's talking about. I have seen them. I don't know the bands, obviously, but I've seen them. They use Bionicle pieces in their album
Oh,
covers.
okay. Yeah, send me the link. I'll look into that. I know um, and there in a Robot Chicken episode for the Luke, I'm Your Father scene on the platform that Luke is standing on, there's a Rockshi leg.
That's amazing.
Yeah. In fact, in a bunch of like scrapyard pieces, there's like Technic pieces, Rockshi arms, just a ton of like Bionicle stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not a kids show by any means. In fact, it's not even a family show. I sorry to recommend that, but
Fair enough. Well, thank
yeah,
you for
like
the
for
disclaimer.
like the late teen adult audience, yeah. If you want to look through like a bunch of like the stop motion, oh, I'm sorry, it's all stop motion, but yeah, just look through some of the episodes. You can find a ton of stuff that's interesting. But
Fair enough. Okay. All right. In that case, next question is from the Dinosaur Planet, who asks, "Do you think that dark classical music would have worked for 2006, get darker in 2007, then more
yeah,
bold and epic in 08 to 2010?"
I absolutely believe so. Even there's a whole subgenre of music called neofolk. Uh, some of the songs have been used in like The Walking Dead, like The Regulator by Clutch. If you've seen The Walking Dead, that's like the bar fight scene in season three. The song that they played during that, I think, would have absolutely fit kind of like the 2004, 2005 sound.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's
Okay.
see. Some other songs. Oh, crap. Sorry, I was actually just about to recommend another song, but I realized that that song does swear in it. So,
Okay. Fair enough. Fair
yeah.
enough.
Um,
I do appreciate it. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
so,
Um, Let me see. We'll move on to the next question, which is
all
from
right.
Evershadow. Oh gosh, I keep these Roman numerals, man. I can't. It's. I know it's 7, but it keeps throwing me off. Nathan, will you go to prom with me? That's his question.
Why do I have a feeling that this is Bakiti just messing with me? I'm sorry, man, but no.
Dang, rejected. Fair
I'm
enough.
willing to, I'm willing to like message you and talk about like Bionicle stuff, but
But prom, that's the line.
like meeting up with anybody in person, I'm a bit wary on.
Yeah, that's
I
okay.
mean, I almost met you like 2 years ago, LJ, but then you had a flake last minute.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't mean for that. But don't
But
worry.
yeah, no,
It just
I
it
don't
just
blame you.
it just made the
Pioneer Park
first
is a
time
very scary.
it just made the first time we met so much better. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it was awesome. All right. In that case, Mr. Rich Bob asks a question for Nathan. What's your favorite Hammerfall song?
Hammerfall. Personally, I'm not a huge Hammerfall fan. I do like Sign of the Crimson Thunder, but that's really it. When it comes to power metal, I do love like Dragon Force and Sabaton. Then Glory Hammer is uh, ironically great. For anyone who doesn't know, if you're familiar with the band Ailstorm, which is a goofy pirate metal band, uh,
Mm-hmm.
the singer Christopher Bowes of Ailstorm is in a band with a bunch of his other friends who sing about their D&D campaigns.
I see.
And it is the most absurd, terrible, but so much fun band. So
Okay.
yeah, Glory Hammer's great. And then Blind Guardian, of course. And another band that I've been waiting 15 years for this. They just announced their first album since then. They're called Demons and Wizards. So it's the singer of Blind Guardian and then the guitarist of Iced Earth. It's a side project between the two of them. They have a song, or like where Blind Guardian sings mostly about like Lord of the Rings and stuff. Demons and Wizards focuses kind of more on kind of like the Discworld franchise and like Wizard of Oz. So it's very soft,
Mm-hmm.
but they have a song one that I cannot recommend enough called "The Fiddler on the Green." So basically, what the song is about, their singer. So I don't want to like depress anyone because it's pretty sad, but their singer Hansi Kirch uh, was traveling back home to Germany once, and suddenly there was a bunch of traffic and sirens in front of him. He learned that a kid had just run out in front of like one of the most dangerous parts of traffic in the whole city, and was hit and killed by a car. And so, as he was leaving the next day, he saw another girl also run out who was about the same age as the first victim, and unfortunately was also struck and killed by a car, literally
Gosh
just like a week
dang.
apart. And so, the whole song, it's the Grim Reaper who's being told, yeah, this is your job. It does suck, but unfortunately, this is just how things go. So he sits
Goodness.
down with the two kids and creates this whole world where they can, or sorry, like he considers his options, speaks to God, says, hey, you know, tell me more about these children before their untimely deaths. He reads that in life they were actually destined to meet, fall in love,
Oh,
and
gosh.
etc. And so just
This is a
being
very
torn
sad sounding
apart,
song.
yeah, just I mean it's a very kind of haunting but incredibly beautiful song. So yeah, he sits down after just being torn apart by all of this, and
Mm-hmm.
sits down with the two kids, plays violin music to soothe them into the afterlife, and then decides, actually, no, this is incredibly unfair. I am going to give pretty much all my power that I have into creating this world free from harm that will only be inhabited by these two. They're going to be able to live the life that they would have had completely free of harm and in a world of peace.
Hmm. Okay.
It's yeah, it's a great song. Definitely their best in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair
So
enough.
yeah.
All right. In that case, we do have a few more questions, and then we are going to go
All
ahead and
right.
wrap up. Tesla Effect asks, Nathan, will you get a new computer?
I'm hoping I'm planning on getting it. Problem with like work at the moment is while I do make enough money to be able to save up for some, problem is with like food and stuff, it is a very slow, tedious process.
Oh, yeah.
But
That's
yes,
fair.
I am definitely saving up for a computer.
All right. Good, good, good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and Tesla Effect also asks if you could visit a European country, which one would you visit?
So for anyone who's literally just now entering the podcast, I am a huge metal fan. So I'm hoping to attend a Vakken Open Air with a bunch of friends, maybe some summer. Which, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a 3 day long music festival featuring bands from all over the world. Um, Unfortunately, tickets tend to sell out in just a few hours. Um, uh, you can look up footage of it on YouTube, and there's just hundreds of thousands of people just attending just like a single concert. I'd love to visit Germany for that. I want to go see like Iceland and the Faroe Islands, just for like a scenery standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my great grandparents were Italian, so I do want to like see Rome and like the UK and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'm sorry, there isn't like one specific country that I want to see. I want to see a ton of them, but yeah,
Okay. All right, fair enough. I don't have any strong desires to leave the United States as it stands. And when
yeah,
it comes to European countries, I also don't really have any strong desires to visit any of those. Um, maybe eventually, okay, maybe with one sole exception if it counts, which would be Denmark. I do plan on
yeah,
Denmark at one point,
absolutely.
so that is fair. Um, maybe Ireland, but I don't. Yeah, yeah, Ireland at
If it
some point.
wasn't still so radioactive, I'd like to see Chernobyl, but I mean, just purely just from like the kind of dark, kind of morbid curiosity, I would like to see that along with like a different places in Norway due to kind of metal history. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. But
Fair enough.
yeah,
Okay. All right. Evershadow asks, and we'll keep this kind of as a lightning round. Nathan, do you listen to Tool, Foo Fighters, or A Perfect Circle?
I'm not a huge fan of Tool or Perfect Circle. Personally, just not my taste when it comes to like prog metal. I'm more into like Opeth, but I do really enjoy Foo Fighters. I'm while I'm not like a diehard fan, I haven't hated a single song. While there are that I'm just like not super into, I do really enjoy. In fact, there's another band called Egypt, which is kind of like a very slow sounding Foo Fighters. In fact, their singer sounds just like Dave Grohl, if anyone is interested in that. But
Okay. There's a country by that name too. No.
well, I mean,
uh, all right. Takua Nuva asks, LJ, why won't my villagers farm properly in Minecraft? I have no idea, man. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and make this last question. Tesla
all right.
Effect asks, Nathan, you say you're Italian, but are you actually a Viking?
I do have a lot of Scandinavian history, and then it goes into like England, and then just like stays there on my dad's side
Mm-hmm.
up until the very late 1600s, where everyone just begins to settle very early United States. Then,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, my great grandparents were Italian immigrants to the U.S. During Mussolini's regime,
Mm-hmm.
and my grandma was born in New York, just like right as we were entering World War Two.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of the closest European ancestry I have at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, like Scandinavian ancestry, I've actually looked into it and been able to trace my ancestry all the way back to almost the Trojan War era. So yeah, very, very distant. But yeah, like a large amount of my family is in Northern Europe all throughout that era.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Well, in that case, you might have to go on a little bit of a history tour.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in that case, like I said, we are going to go ahead and end things. Well, okay, we'll ask this one more. Clognog asks, do you like pigeons and eggnog? I mean, oh, I like
I do like eggnog. I honestly can't say I tried pigeon,
I,
but
same. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know where I would get that.
Probably from a pigeon.
Or I mean, if I have to clean up any more pigeon stuff at my work, I may try it. But
I think we're on that note. We'll go ahead and start wrapping things up.
all right,
But yeah. All right, but yeah, no, I think we've only scratched the surface of this subject. So Nathan, I'll have to have you back when we can schedule it.
all right.
But in the meantime, thanks for taking the time to be here today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
And I've completed the Trinity.
Thank you for letting me on.
Absolutely.
It's been an absolute blast, and I would love to do this again as soon as possible if I can.
Heck yeah. I don't know when. I have no idea when, but we'll schedule it out. So, all right. In that
All
case, Nathan, are there any places over on social media you want people to follow you at?
Uh, I'm not a very kid-friendly person on a lot of stuff, but like if you're in mask posting on Facebook, I'm pretty active there. TTV and Bees of Power, I try to be as active as possible. So yeah, like I said earlier, on my mock page on Instagram, yeah, feel free to check that out and follow me if you're interested. And then other than that, I think that's it.
All right. Fair enough. Any of those links will be in the description below, so go ahead and check them out if you feel so inclined. All right. Well, again, Nathan, thank you so very much. And thank you to everyone who tuned in today for listening to the show, be it live or recorded. And that's going to do it today. This has been yet another episode of The Eljay Johnsen Show. This show airs every single weekend, every Saturday, over at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, unless specified otherwise over on Twitter at The Eljay Johnsen, where you can find nuts. Messed it up. You can find guest announcements and updates every single Tuesday. And in the week, over the week, I'm just going to start over. This has been another episode of The Eljay Johnsen Show. The show airs every single weekend at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, unless specified otherwise over on Twitter at The Eljay Johnsen, where you can find updates and guest announcements every single Tuesday. And over the week, if you want to send me anything, make sure you head on over to my email, ljjohnson@gmail.com. Remember, that's JOHNSEN. Okay, much better. Much, much better. All right, once again, thank you all so very much for listening, and we will see you all again another time. Have a wonderful day.